Skip to the pledge.
Please turn face flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have Pastor Keith Capizzi from Club Zion do the invocation. Let's pray. Father, we thank you. We bless you. Lord, we thank you that your sovereignty and guidance over this meeting will be supreme and perfect. Father, we just ask for the outcome to be pleasing in your sight. Pray that the commissioners, the mayor, the attorney, and our city manager would have wisdom and discernment and insight into the matters before them. We thank you for the city. We thank you for the beauty that you've given us to live here. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
City clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Woolis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hutcherson.
Here.
Mayor Capizzi.
Here. Get a approval of the agenda.
I'd like to move J1 to the beginning right after the consent.
Second. All right, got a motion and a second to move J1 to the beginning. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. So how do we do that? Is that, we do that now through?
No.
Right
I said after consent.
Oh, after consent, okay. Do we got any public comments that items not on the agenda? All right. Staff reports.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
All right. City attorney, staff reports or announcements?
Nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
City commission reports, announcements.
I've got two.
You said you do?
I do. I have
Okay.
two. First, on the topic of e-bikes, I've received a number of requests for the commission to readdress e-bike speed on Minuteman bike path as well as sidewalks. Neighbors who have been hit by bikes or near misses, out walking dogs or themselves just walking.
Bicycles or e-bikes?
E-bikes. While I recognize it's fun for the kids, heck, I like going fast, right? But we have a problem and we need to make some progress in this area. I know we've addressed it before, the problem persists, right? When we have kids, or when we're kids, we don't have the benefit of perspective and empathy of life experience to guide us. We need rules. One of the kids I was talking to described swerving someone, right? It was explained that basically you go up really fast, as close to them as you can get, and swerve at the last second. Said it's not a big deal, it's just fun, and I don't think they're being malicious, but there's a lack of perspective and accountability here where I think we've got to put some rules in place. It's not malicious, it's just the carelessness of youth, but we need to put something in place. So I wanted to ask if the city could put together a plan of action to implement some type of policy or some type of physical intervention that would allow us to start to make progress in increasing the safety.
I know I've mentioned this before, but I would like to have the police chief or somebody from the police get with the school. I talked to the principal and she was all for it to do a couple of training days for bicycle and e-bike etiquette, because I think these days parents are just like, here's your e-bike, go have fun. And there's not a whole lot of teaching on proper etiquette on that kind of stuff. So I think that would be a big help as well, especially with the swerving. And maybe, I don't know, Wes, but is there anything to do with
There is enforcement.
like enforcing, sorry. Is there anything to do, is there any rules against erratic, like, bicycle behavior?
Sort of. Wes Mullins, interim police chief. It's my first time ever saying that. Thank you. So, unfortunately, the legislature is slow to catch up with trends, okay? And e-bikes are no different. Bicycles and e-bikes are essentially the same thing legislatively right now. during last week's Citizens Academy, we were actually asked this very question. And prior to the academy happening, we did some research, and there are rules that indicate bicyclists have to make some sort of audible noise prior to coming up to somebody before they swerve them, okay? Other than that, you know, it's only tied to the rules of biking right now, okay? So that's what makes this difficult.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research as well because obviously I ride an electric scooter, and like you said, it's a bike, a scooter is a bike, is a whatever. They have the same rights as all the other bikes. So for us, just like Airbnbs, for us to regulate it, I think would be really hard.
And I would just add, at the end of the last workshop or task force that was held regarding the golf carts, e-bikes was part of that conversation. I don't know the actual outcome of that task force that I think Mr. Evans was on and others. I think John was on that, actually. Okay, do you want to speak to that, John?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
It's fine with me.
I mean, I don't think the commission took any action from that. It was.
Well, we
that
couldn't,
brief.
we couldn't do anything
Yeah.
other than education. But yeah,
John Lose, 444 Dempsey Drive. I was one of, I guess it was 4 people that were on the task force. The task force made recommendations through Tanja McCoy. I'm not sure if those recommendations actually made it into an ordinance. I don't recall actually seeing it come in front of this body. But one of the key things was because, like Wes said, bicycles and e-bikes are treated the same by Tallahassee, so no local municipality can treat them differently. And logic would say bikes and e-bikes are actually not the same. There's a different weight, there's a different speed capacity, but you have to treat them the same. So if you want to do something to an e-bike, you have to do it also to a bicyclist. So that's one of the problems that we faced. But one of the key recommendations was on sidewalks where you interact with dog walkers and people walking and everybody's on the sidewalk, we set a speed limit of 12 miles per hour. We thought that that's fast, but on a pedestrian walkway, the speed differential between that and a pedestrian is fairly high at 12 miles an hour. But the problem is there's no way or no good way to monitor that speed. But I know from jogging on Minuteman myself, the e-bikes go by a lot faster than 12 miles an hour. And my eyes are not calibrated to tell you it's 18.5 miles an hour, but it's way faster than 12. And I think if we can hold 12 or some other number, if people would really do that, a lot of the safety concern goes away. Now, that doesn't count swerving. That's a dangerous practice. I've been swerved, but I didn't know there was a word for such thing, but I have been swerved. Now I know what it is. It's dangerous. But if the speed differential was kept down or the speed limit was kept down, I think that would help a lot. If there's a way that the police force could periodically monitor that and catch somebody, or if we were supposed to post signs. That's another recommendation from the task force, post signs. I don't
Yeah, I
believe
like
any
that.
signs are posted. And if you're the operator,
Task force, talk about it.
Yeah.
I like the sign and I like the education idea.
that was one of the recommendations. If you're the operator of the equipment, you don't necessarily know the speed that you're going. So even though you post it, how does the operator know that he's exceeding that speed?
We just need signs that says slow for pedestrians or some
Something.
kind of stuff like that.
There may also be some physical interventions that, we're not particular that e-bikes are a problem, it's the speed of the e-bike. And if we can put in physical interventions, and I don't have a design in mind, but where if you're going more than 15 miles an hour, it becomes difficult to physically navigate either over it or around it, but for anybody going slower, it's easily passable. Those types of physical things would eliminate the law enforcement having to implement or make judgment calls. It would just, the rider themselves would have to adjust.
I mean, it sounds like kids are probably going to be swerving with bikes as well.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean,
I mean,
the
it's-
device, whether it's a bike or an e-bike, is almost irrelevant.
It's education.
excessive
We need to-
speed.
We need to educate.
So just on that point of education, I believe there was an email sent from you, Commissioner Hutcherson, to the former city manager about education in the schools as well. That's certainly something that we can do, Mayor. That's
That'd be
something,
great.
Now, the other way to handle this from an intervention way, and is for us to do an enforcement of other violations, if you will, helmets, right? We can do that. And then during that friendly stop intervention where we kind of educate, we can also educate as to speed, e-bike, stuff like that as well. That's all we can do at this point unless you want to start regulating bikes. Unless I'm wrong, Becky, if you think that,
No, I think you're right.
yeah. So that's kind of where we're at,
Yeah.
all right?
So I
Thank
think
you.
we're dusting off the workshop and the, like, Skip,
Yeah,
as you
let's
said,
dust off what
take a look
came out of
back.
the workshop and go over it again.
Yeah, I think
I
that'd
got
be a
one
good
thing I
idea.
didn't forget.
Yeah, I've got one more,
you got one
and I
more? Go
can
Go ahead.
take turns. On a light, brighter note, in a truly first-class event, Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High will be celebrating the school's 70th anniversary of our first basketball and cheer teams this Friday. So tomorrow, during the senior night basketball game at 6 p.m. At halftime, the school's first basketball team and cheerleading team led by Coach Tom Walsden, one of the players, Jim Birch, and others will be joining members of the first cheerleading team in accepting a team photo and an official emplacement of their Letterman jacket that will be commemoratively displayed near the entrance. So please join Athletic Director Ted Kimmy, head coach of the basketball team, Wardell Collins, and the absolutely amazing and supremely gorgeous head coach of the cheer team, Jatana Jackson, for this celebration. The game starts at 6 p.m., so please come out and support our kids of all ages. Thank you. That's my report.
Go ahead, Skip.
Some people in the neighborhood of the Holiday Lane boat ramp took it upon themselves to put a petition together and get a bunch of signatures. I'd like to put into public record. I've already talked to the city manager about it. It's basically saying that that boat ramp is in disrepair, and I'd like to see if there's some kind of funding, be it grant, fine, otherwise, that could help repair that boat ramp.
Okay. From what I understand is we would need to designate that boat ramp as an actual city boat ramp in order to get a fine grant?
He's still working on the details. I don't think we want to.
Okay.
What is the classification now? That's not public use?
Well,
No,
it's just not on the map.
It's not listed on
You
the
get a
map.
dirty look when you use it, so I'm with you. If
But
it's-
fine won't give us
I agree.
money unless it's
Yeah.
recognized.
Anyway, more to
Okay.
come. Just wanted to
Sounds
get
good.
the
I would like to
about-
see it on the north side.
public record.
I'm all about boats. I like that. Anybody else? Okay, actually, I got a couple. I want to congratulate you. This looks like, I think I saw that you put in for
C2?
reelection.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And I saw that Tim Tumulty put in for Caroline's seat, so congratulations. And I put in for mayor, for reelection, so that's exciting.
And when he says that Tim put in for Carolyn's seat, it's not like he's running against Carolyn.
No, because she's going to term out, so,
I just want people to know that.
yes.
I'd hate for him to be losing votes already because he's running against Carolyn.
All right. That's it for me. All right, consent agenda.
Okay, this is the consent agenda. Item 1, approve the January 18, 2024 commission meeting minutes. Representative, City Clerk Department, recommendation approved. Item 2, approve the purchase of a 2025 Freightliner dump truck from Orlando Freightliner, Inc. via Florida Sheriff's Association bid number FSA 23-BEH 21.0 for $151,437 to replace a 2005 Freightliner dump truck. This is a budgeted item. Representative Robert Torres, Public Works Director, recommendation approved. Item 3, review, update, and renew the statewide mutual aid agreement, SMAA, with the Florida Division of Emergency Management, FDEM. All local governments in the state of Florida are required to enter into this agreement to prepare for natural disasters and other emergencies. This agreement is also required to apply for reimbursement from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, after disasters and other public emergencies. Representative Ryan Duckworth, Fire Chief, recommendation approved. Item 4 has been removed. Item 5, request to approve the Commercial Visual Improvement Grant Program Agreement between CRA and Gregory DiPolito and Penelope DiPolito that was approved by the CRA Board. Representative Devin Talley, Community Redevelopment Agency, recommendation approved.
Move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments on that? Comment on the consent agenda? All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Now we go to J1.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, item J, new business 1, FDOT raised crosswalks. FDOT would like the commission to select one of the proposed options for safety improvements along State Road A1A. Representative Jared Francis, city engineer. Recommendation, present and discuss.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm really here to just introduce FDOT. They recognize the need for some safety improvements along A1A, and so I think your sidewalk discussion was a great segue into what they're going to talk about, some of the traffic calming measures that they're proposing, but they are looking for a vote, a direction from you guys as to your preferred alternative. So they're going to come up and present to and would like your direction.
Good evening, thank you for your time. My name is Todd Alexander. I'm with Florida Department of Transportation Project Management, and we're going to talk about a project on northbound and southbound SR1A. It's pedestrian intersection improvements. Sam Jumber is the project manager, and he will actually be running through the presentation. After the presentation, I would like to do a physical representation to show you what this raised crosswalk transition from ground level to the top of the crosswalk would be, and we have one of our consultants who'll be able to show a measurement showing the height and the length of the transition. So, Sam, go ahead.
Thanks. I'm Sam Jumber. Thank you for this opportunity to present. So the purpose of this project is to enhance pedestrian safety along State Road A1A from Crescent Beach Drive to south of Minuteman Causeway by providing 12 pedestrian crossings, 6 of them along northbound A1A, Atlantic Avenue, and 6 along southbound A1A, which is Orlando Avenue. The proposed pedestrian crossings, the locations were determined by a pedestrian safety study conducted back in July 2019. This presentation would detail 2 options for the proposed pedestrian crosswalk improvements. Option 1 will have raised crosswalks, which are proposed at 6 of the 12 pedestrian crossing locations. 3 of them northbound A1A and 3 at along southbound, and those would be at the Summer Street intersection, 10th Street intersection, and 1st Street intersection along A1A. In addition to the raised crosswalks, all pedestrian crosswalks except for the 2 at 1st Street South intersections will have in-roadway warning lights. These lights systems turn on when pedestrians push the actuator button when they're ready to cross the roadway. The lights are located in the pavement and will flash while pedestrians cross the roadway. In addition to the raised crosswalks, the 2 at northbound and southbound A1A at 1st Street will be pedestrian hybrid beacons with overhead mast arms. These 2 locations do not have the in-roadway warning lights. I think I hit the wrong button. There we go. Okay. So the raised crosswalks will be 3 inches high. For reference, this is less than the width of a standard business card. So that's about, this high. The raised crosswalks will have a 5-foot long ramp that will transition to the flat crosswalk, and then a 5-foot long ramp back down to the roadway surface. That flat crosswalk surface will be 10 feet wide. The travel lanes as you approach the raised crosswalks will be reduced to 11-foot travel lanes down from the current 12. So as you drive towards the crosswalk, that's the slope you would get. which then would start your 10-foot flat crosswalk for the pedestrians and then ramp down with the same size ramp. Speed hump signs with a 20-mile-per-hour advisory sign will be placed at each raised crosswalk. As part of this project, the speed limit from Crescent Beach Drive to Minuteman Causeway will be reduced from 35 miles an hour to 30. And FDOT traffic ops would coordinate changing the speed limit to 30 in the remaining bifurcated section of A1A to the north of this project. The temporary traffic control plan during construction, we will be adding portable changeable message signs. We have some pictures of that later on. We'll be provided with additional message to alert motorists of the raised crosswalks during construction, so they're aware of it. All signs and pavement markings will be installed prior to opening the raised crosswalks to traffic. This includes vertical deflection pavement markings. And speed enforcement will be provided during construction. We'll have a traffic control officer on site during constructions. And then finally, the raised crosswalks won't be open to pedestrians until construction is complete. This gives an overview of the project limits. The ones with a green circle around it are the raised crosswalks, but on your far left, Summer Street, those two would be raised crosswalks. The next, when you go to the right, 16th Street, those would just be flush crosswalks. To the right of that, 13th Street would be flush crosswalks. 10th Street, which is pretty much in the middle of the project, those two would be raised crosswalks. To the right of that is 4th Street, would be flush sidewalks. And then the most northern two at 1st Street South would be raised crosswalks. And those are the two that will have the pedestrian hybrid beacons. This is a view from the street looking at the crosswalk. There's a call out to the flexible in-street pedestrian sign that's in the middle between the two lanes. Because we're narrowing the lanes down to 11 feet, that allows us to stripe out like a 2-foot buffer between travel lanes. And then you can see the ramps called out. On the far right is the speed hump sign with the 20-mile-an-hour advisory speed limit. And there's a little bit more details on that flexible in-street crossing sign. It's a plastic sign with a flexible base. It will help increase visibility for pedestrians to cross safely. When impacted by a vehicle, the panel is reactive and is designed to spring back to its original position. To the left is a picture of the speed hump sign. It will have a solar panel for flashing LED lights. They will be the same color as the sign. They will flash at all times. That center picture is just a real-world example of a curved warning sign that has the flashing lights on it. This is a cross-sectional view of the raised crosswalk, which shows the transition from the existing pavement across 5 feet to the 3-inch high crosswalk, which is 10 feet wide, and then it slopes back down. And so this is just, the raised crosswalk is 3 inches high, which is less than your standard business card. These are the portable changeable message signs. You've probably seen these in construction sites. 7 days prior to construction, it will say speed hump construction and then show the date to and from. And then during construction, it will change to say caution, slow, caution, speed hump is ahead, and alternate between those two messages. This is just a picture of a raised crosswalk in Orange County with the pedestrian vertical sign between the travel lanes. The second option is to have no raised crosswalks. There would still be 12 pedestrian crossings, and they would all be flat. All the crossings, except the ones at First Street, will have the in-roadway warning lights. activated when a pedestrian pushes the push button. The pedestrian crossings at First Street will still be pedestrian hybrid beacons on overhead mast arm signals, and those won't have the in-road warning lights. The travel lanes will still be narrowed to 11 feet as you approach the crosswalks. However, the speed limit throughout the corridor will remain 35 miles an hour. This is the project overview. All the locations stay the same. They are just now all flush crosswalks. And then this is the street view. As you approach the crosswalk, and you can see the vertical sign and the striped out between the two travel lanes. And then from the side view, it's just a flush crosswalk. And that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. I got a motion to discuss.
Yeah. Motion to discuss.
Ask questions?
Second, all in favor to discuss?
Aye.
Yes, lots to discuss here. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Well, I kind of just wanted to, first of all, ask why this is coming up, because like 4 years ago, DOT came to us and wanted to do this and put a bunch of crosswalks, and we went to a meeting, and like a public meeting, and we didn't really want all these crosswalks. And it was the yellow, it had to do a lot with the yellow flashing lights, like on First Street.
The rectangular flashing
Yeah.
beacon signs, yeah.
But the fact there were so many too, and this is a lot too. What triggered this? Why are we
Based on
doing
that meeting, we did not put in the rectangular flashing lights, but we were still putting in the 12 crosswalks.
Is that what this is? Like a continuation of that, but not, because, I mean, they kind of like laid back after that, so.
Yeah, it's the same project.
It's the same project?
Yeah, we just
Okay.
took out the rectangular flashing beacons that are on the signs on either side of the road based on that meeting, because the city said they would not.
I hate driving through Satellite Beach.
Yeah.
I hate driving through Satellite
that's
Beach.
why
You guys, whatever you did over there, I mean, those sticks sticking up in the middle of the road, and I mean, and a raised crosswalk's absolutely not for me. I mean, if I had a Porsche or a Lamborghini or a Corvette, I'd be afraid of ruining that diffuser in the front. I don't want to be ruining people's cars.
What about like ambulance?
Ambulances, yeah. I honestly, I mean, do we have a say in this? Do we have to go? I mean,
It's, be cordial because it's their road.
it goes through our city. I mean,
Right, we're discussing it.
okay,
But it's still their road.
I understand, I understand.
We
Mayor,
don't
action
have to
comment.
pay to pave it. We don't have to pay to maintain the sidewalk.
It's a lot, and we have a lot of traffic as it is.
I know we got a lot more traffic from that one that we put, that they put by the Wakula. There's a lot more traffic in the morning because of that.
I mean, is this just negotiable? I mean, can we do less? I mean, I'll tell you where it'd be better than 10th Street would actually be 8th Street where the church is as well. I mean, there's a lot more people that cross the road there because they park in the parking lot and they go to the beach. I mean, what's at 10th Street?
This is based on the pedestrian study, so they looked at all the different intersections, and these were the ones that were identified for that.
Because I know, I mean, I drive the city all the time. I don't really see a bunch of people crossing at 10th, but I see people crossing 8th all the time. I mean, that's where there's a church with 400 people every Sunday that goes there and they check the waves after church.
Typically, what would happen during a safety study, they would go out and do ped counts throughout the corridor and determine what locations had crossings and count and place crossings at the highest crossing counts. So that's how they determine the location. And the raised crosswalk itself is meant to be to alert drivers of a potential conflict point. And so that's the purpose of that. It's considered to be a safety alternative to help alert the drivers and just clearly identify where pets could be crossing. So, and we understand that there's not general support for the raised crosswalks. That's why we're also looking at the flat crosswalks.
Yeah, I only thing I'd say about the raised crosswalks, I'm not worried about the poor guy in his Lamborghini scratching up his front spoiler.
This is Cocoa Beach,
But-
not mine.
But I am concerned about time is critical. If we had to send an ambulance to the south end of town and we turn around and going to bring them back to Cape Canaveral Hospital, if it was a heart attack or stroke, the quicker the better. I mean, the suspension on those ambulances ain't great to begin with. So it's just a little bit of an impediment there, but when time is critical. But for somebody that has a compound fracture or something, and they're laying in that bed in that ambulance, and it's compound fracture, you got bones that are like broken and you start bouncing around, you're just breaking off more pieces the surgeon has to dig out of there. And it's painful. So I'd like for him to have as smooth as ride as possible. So those are the two reasons I'm against the raised crosswalks. But I do like the idea, because I'm the representative for North Beach Coalition on the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. And I saw this when it was 4-inch, and then there was one that was 6-inch, and I'm like, them low boys with the car carriers, they're gonna take out that 6-inch one, they ain't gonna be there a week. But I guess you had an issue with that down south, so I'm glad that it came down from that, but I'd still prefer just the flat crosswalks.
What's the driver for not having like a consistent solution? It seems like, my understanding is that this was in Atlantic on 192 for a few weeks and they tore it out. Satellite Beach has
That
got,
was higher than.
well, hang on, Satellite Beach has got just the signage. Here we're talking about doing the elevated crosswalks, and then like Leroy Wilson area, it's got the light. So it seems like there's an inconsistent. If the
Well-
intent is to slow the traffic down, it seems like we'd have the same solution all up and down A1A. So
Vice
my
Mayor.
concern is the signs, they're basically mutilated, the ones in Satellite Beach, the flexible ones are gone, it's now just a post. I've been driving that for 25 years and seen those. And then, like I said, the inconsistency, I'm not a fan of option one. Like I said, I don't know what the latitude is, if this is just for our feedback, but I would prefer nothing but option two if we're gonna put something in. And then one final comment, the ones that are on First Street North, I don't know if you guys did those as well, it seems like they're on the wrong side of the road because they're what I'm gonna call downstream of the right turn. Whereas if they were upstream, you would never have that right turning traffic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
If I'm on First Street facing east, I can only turn south, right? And the sidewalk's right there, so I'm looking at traffic. It seems like that should be reversed, so I would never run into the pedestrians, what I'm calling upstream. And it's the same on the other side, A1A northbound, it's on the north side of First Street. Does that make sense?
I know we have all these placed where if you're on the side street, you're not turning onto
Yeah.
them. They're on the side where.
Put them
you-
upstream of
Right.
the right
So
turn, one-way
those,
street.
I mean,
Yeah.
those were done through a different FDOT project.
I got you, okay.
I don't know if they had some kind of physical constraints that
Okay.
did it on that, but.
Yeah,
I
because
know
both the
I'm-
situations, you turn onto a one-way street, so you're looking one way, but the pedestrian's on the way you're
Right.
not looking. Seems very high risk. Like I said, I would prefer nothing, but if we're gonna do, if it's at your discretion, I would push
I mean, the
option
plan
two.
is for y'all to vote, if y'all vote for option two, which is no crosswalks, then that's what we would move forward with.
So-
One other thing, hang on, one other thing on the speed limit, I noticed 35 for option one, but, I'm sorry, 30 for option one, but 35 for option two, what's the,
So the
difference
raised
there?
crosswalks is a speed management thing because people will need to slow down for that. So that is, something that would allow us to drop that speed limit from 35 to 30 because this is going to encourage people to slow down at those raised crosswalks.
could we achieve that same thing with option two and just changing the posted speed limit to 30? like an option 3?
So there would be nothing really to force people to, like this, the raised crosswalk is what physically makes somebody have to slow down.
Right.
If you just lower it to 30, there's, people speed if they can. So
It turns it into more of an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
And so in order to obtain the consistent 30 mile an hour through the corridor, you end up having to enforce it. And we find that people don't follow that 30 mile an hour without something to slow them down, like speed humps or, narrowing the lanes, vegetation, stuff like that.
And it's based on a 85th percentile. If people are already speeding out there, we just can't lower it. You have to stay within the 85th percentile.
I just wanted to add, when Carolyn was here, we fought long and hard about those crosswalks that we ended up getting the red, yellow, green lights, and it's 2 and it was gonna be 3. I think they're very effective, and people use them, and they're crossing on them, and I think that's basically the Taj Mahal of crosswalks. Okay, I wish if we're gonna put any in, I'd like them to be like that, but that's not gonna happen, too expensive. So, but at the time, before we actually gave our input, and I gave my input as your representative, it was gonna be like Satellite Beach, and we were like, no, we don't want to be
You
like
talking
that.
the one at Lori Wilson and Osceola? We're
Right.
going to be like option 2?
Right, but there was going to be more of them.
I gotcha.
So, anyway, I think those are very well placed. They're very effective. I think that maintenance should be minimal on them, and everybody seems to applaud those.
So is that just a capacity, like that is significant higher volume at those 2 locations versus these 6 that warranted having a push button? Like, I'm
On this
assuming it's
part,
just
the
all
pedestrian hybrid beacon, like
I think it's like Lori Wilson and then just north of 520, there's 2 new
the
ones.
green, yellow, red pedestrian crossing. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a certain amount of pedestrians. I believe it's like 20 an hour for a certain amount of periods to justify that cost. They're not just going to put that at a location where you have very low pedestrian movement. But I mean, once those, these go in, DOT does, like we did additional pedestrian counts to see if those could go out anywhere else. And the First Street South did meet the requirements for the pedestrian hybrid. That was the only one that had enough pedestrian counts to justify the cost of the mast arms.
So as far as the flat crosswalks
Yeah.
with the yellow lights that are embedded in the road, there's going to be a push button on both sides to activate the yellow lights. Where's the power coming from? From the power pole type
Yes. Yeah.
separate?
They're solar? Solar.
Will they be solar?
So
Okay.
So, okay.
With the
So are we- Solar
I'm
with
sure it's a battery.
Backup, with a battery backup, they're only on when somebody pushes it, so,
Yeah,
if you have a couple days with no power.
Okay.
You can't cross at night.
It's not on 24/7.
Well, yeah, and it's cheaper than hooking it up to FP&L.
I mean, there's, it's like an.
Yeah, we've got some.
RPM.
We've got some on Minuteman.
Okay.
Do we have to have that sign, I know like in Satellite Beach, they just run those things over and it's just,
The thing in the middle of the road is what
Yeah.
she's saying. You have to have
You have
that.
to have that thing?
we can take that to our management and to
Yeah.
have a discussion with them on
Okay.
I
that.
mean, I think it's good,
It's meant to be.
Because, so, Alex Hinkle, engineer of record. One of the big differences that you're gonna see in Satellite Beach is that sign is directly placed on your lane line. There's no physical separation between the vehicles. So what we have proposed in this scenario is a 2-foot bore separation. So your lane line is actually gonna be offset by about 8 inches on each side. Will it still get hit? Possibly, but instead of being located right in the lane line, there is separation between the edge and the sides. So not an exact situation that you're gonna see just now.
So the posts that are in Satellite Beach, are those flexible? I see the
Yeah.
rectangular signs, those spring back, but the other ones look like they're rigid posts.
I can't say confidently, I don't know, you guys are more.
there's it's like a tubular, it's like the tubular
It's more of a
delineators you
delineator,
see
yeah.
along the road. They get hit and they pop back up still.
They are designed to pop back up, but not like this one with the spring on the
So-
bottom.
I got you.
Okay, but
I mean-
those ones down there, any given day, you go down there and at least a third of them are
I drive a
gone.
white truck.
And at the end of the day, that's one of the many countermeasures that we're trying to implement. It can be evaluated and not implemented.
Okay.
So there's not-
So I'd like, let's take public comment.
Actually, I want to make another comment. So if it was possible to do it without the signs in the road and the flat, I'd be more apt to that. And then also, I mean, can we take it down from 6 to 3? Or is that, I mean, is that a possibility?
Well,
I really don't, I don't think so, but.
no, take the 6. I mean, we got a lot of residents down there on that end
I mean,
of town.
these are located at cross streets, so they're not per se mid-block, halfway.
Yeah, I know where they
So somebody can, cross there regardless if we stripe it. It's an intersection. Now we're striping it, which is adding a safety, if.
There's no harm in that.
If it's flat and nobody's using it,
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I know you guys are getting a lot of questions, but definitely we appreciate the interest in pedestrian safety. So please don't misread this. I appreciate what you guys are doing and the focus there. I think the flat is probably the preference.
Thank you. Let's take some public comment. Anybody, go ahead, state your name and address and keep it to less than 3 minutes.
Social Security number.
Keith Capizzi, I'd like to have an additional 8 minutes. I definitely am not in favor of that sign in the middle. Every city that has them, they're trashed. They don't last, they don't work. It's not necessary, really. I'm very familiar with the traffic. I cruise up and down there all the time. And I think, Mayor, you're right about 8th Street. That's where the most traffic is. And
100%.
there's hardly any traffic up and down A1A. Most of the foot traffic is 8th Street, 4th Street, 1st Street. That's where you see most of the pedestrian traffic. And your research, I'm glad you guys are really working on safety, but I think your research is a little off. I live here, so you probably want to check with people that live here, get a more accurate reading on where to place these. But the middle thing needs to go.
Thank you, sir.
Scott Cunningham, 2100 North Atlantic Avenue. I'll say it at this meeting as I did in the 2019 meeting. Flashing yellow is kind of the universal slow down and with caution, as opposed to red, which is what you're trying to promote, is a stop while pedestrians are crossing. I just don't understand why they continue to use yellow when it's not going to be necessarily recognized to stop.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
John Lowe's, 444 Dempsey Drive. I think of the two options that we've seen, option 2 to me makes the most sense because it calls out at least 6 areas that's going to enhance pedestrian safety, which is going to be better than what we have today. So it's going to increase pedestrian crosswalk safety. But when I drive these areas, most of the time when I drive, I don't see anybody crossing there. But I know people do cross there, but it's not frequent to my eyes. So by doing the option 2, the flat option, when a pedestrian is there, it definitely increases their safety, but it doesn't impact motor vehicle traffic 24 hours a day forever. Because I think the raised crosswalks, even though they've done what they can to reduce the impact on the driver, it's going to slow the traffic down. It's uncomfortable to drive that, and it's 24 hours a day for every vehicle forever and ever, even when there's nobody there. So to me, we need to get increase pedestrian safety, and you can get that with option 2 without impacting every motor vehicleist forever when there's no one there. So to me, option 2 seems like the better option. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent point.
Good point.
Tim Tomati, Cocoa Beach. I think option 2, probably from the direction you guys are going, is probably where it's going to go. But it was brought up and kind of slipped through. Commissioner Williams, you understand it because you've been here quite a while and worked on the DOT side. You can't just pick a speed limit, unfortunately. If we could, then yeah, it'd be great. We can take A1A and down to 30, but it's based on how fast cars are going, correct? And that is unfortunate. But by having the raised crosswalks, it would cause a speed softening. It is a gradual incline. It's not a speed bump. I'm just throwing it out there that would, by doing that, then you could change the speed limit. And that would probably be the safest thing for folks that are trying to walk across the street. Another issue that Commissioner Hutcherson, that you brought up, that we have a problem on First Street North, is that the crosswalk is in the north lane is on the north side of the street. So when you turn north onto Atlantic, you're turning right into that crosswalk. So when someone pushes a button to go across the street, everyone is stopped. And so you have a backup of cars for those folks to cross the street, and then these cars that want to turn are going to sit there for another couple minutes because they've got to now wait for all the cars that are backed up. So hopefully on all of these crosswalks, you have the crosswalks so southbound, you have it on the north side of the intersection, and on the southbound this way. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't read that in that information. So again, that's the speed of the vehicles is what determines the speed limit. It seems odd that that's the way it's done, but that is the way it's done. The only time it's different is in schools. So in school zones, you can create the speed limit, but you can't anywhere else. Is that a state mandate? I don't know.
Not again.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else before we take it back? All right, go ahead.
I'm prepared to make a motion, but I did want to make one more comment. When they say that they did the pedestrian study, okay? And I've heard a lot about pedestrian studies, okay? You know, from the professionals and Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. And it's not like when they do traffic studies where they put the two things in the road with a little box and it counts how many cars go by, how fast they're going and all that. They have to physically have people go out and station themselves and for X amount of hours and count. It's time consuming. And they don't do it, you know, for every dynamic, you know, for every different week of the year, you know, rain or shine, you know, raining, but the waves are huge and everybody's running across the street with their surfboards, you know. I mean, it's not that, it would be too manpower intensive and hourly intensive to do that. So I think they did do some weekend counts, but I'm pretty sure they were on Saturdays. And they probably didn't want people paying, if people are union, they don't want to pay them double time to work on Sundays, so they didn't catch the church traffic.
Before you make a motion, I'd like to
Yeah, I've
talk
got
to you.
another comment at some point.
Would you agree, though, that 8th Street was probably way busier?
Before you do, I have one more comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tim, you bring up an interesting point. Speed limit, coming off of Patrick, right? Coming in 55 miles an hour, we do drop down pretty quickly into 35. And I don't know if this would be a popular concept, but placing one in the northbound as you're entering the city that's raised as that check for folks coming in at 55 that, remember, you're entering city, you're entering 35. Just one, not on the southbound to Pear, but just one right there. There might be value for Cocoa Beach in one raised crosswalk where you're coming from 55 to 45 to 40 to 30.
I could go with one raise there, and I can go with the rest flat, but I think you should change your one at 10th to 8th Street, because that's really where it's needed. But, see his motion.
Can I make one
Yeah.
more? The fact that those lights, he brought up a good point. They're yellow, right? We had an issue with yellow, and that's why we wanted the. Yeah, I mean, can they make them red instead? Red, because that seemed more
That would-
definitive to stop.
In order, it's a completely different design, and that would have to be what they call a PHB, pedestrian hybrid beacon, and that would requires a certain amount of ped crossing, so that's not an option for these. I think there was one that did qualify, that was in.
The First Street South, but the in-road lights, you can't just make them red. But you have to have a yellow, then red, because if it's just red, then somebody have to slam on their brakes and, breaking the law if somebody hits red and then they go across it. So you need like a traditional signal. It switches to yellow for a specific time based on speed and then goes to red. So that's why they have to be yellow and not red. So.
Okay, I see.
And the reason behind the yellow is it's yellow stop when peds are in the crosswalk, and then you don't have that stopped condition for an extended period of time. Okay.
It's a warning, flashing, and you have to by law stop for pedestrians, so, and that's what that sign says, that's in between the two lanes is stop for pedestrians, which is, regardless if there's a flashing yellow or red light, by law, you have to stop in the crosswalk.
I've done this before.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we all good?
All right, so I want to make a motion that we go with option 2. And if you'll go back and see if they can get rid of the sign in the middle of the road, we'd like to do that. And you're catching all this, right, Karen?
Yep.
Okay. And then the one, when you're going northbound
Summer Street?
at Summer Street, do option 1 with the raised,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
And then tell us who we need to beg for a change order to put an additional one at 8th Street.
I'll talk to our traffic ops.
Yeah, I mean, if they did a traffic count on a Sunday in the summertime, there's a lot of
Okay.
pedestrians there, be it just from the church but just, I mean, there's a parking there and people do use it.
Would that be in addition to the 10th or in place of the 10th?
I'd like
Oh,
to,
however you,
I'd like to
however you
replace the
choose.
10th.
If you want to move 10th to 8th, fine. But if you want to, if you're kind of set out on this plan, then we're asking for an additional one. If we can't get the additional one, move 10th to 8th. That's my motion. I'm looking for a second.
Hang on, so I want to clarify. The motion is option 2 with one speed bump at the southmost entrance, or southmost crosswalk.
Yeah,
On
northbound.
the
The
northbound.
southmost crosswalk
Right.
on both
The
sides.
first one you get to.
No, not on both sides.
Patrick.
Just heading northbound at.
Just northbound.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So
okay.
for folks coming off of
I
Patrick,
could bring up the,
slow us down.
Hey, I got you.
I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
He figured it out. He figured it out.
I'll second
I
that.
understand what you.
Okay, I got a second from Commissioner Jackson.
Allow for us to reduce the speed to 30 by just having one?
Not,
No.
Most likely not, but after it's all constructed, DOT would need to do a spot speed study and see if it impacted. But obviously, that would only be northbound, not southbound. But
So it has the potential.
yeah, it has the potential if it not only slow people down at summer, but they continue to keep that slower speed.
Drive through there every day.
You know,
I'm doing
a spot speed study would have to be performed
For
for
25
northbound, and if it showed it could go.
Because you just aren't thinking, slow down.
Wham now.
Yep.
There's a speed bump there.
Maybe y'all like the one at North, and someday DOT can install 11 more.
Thank you so much. So I got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I've been doing the driving for years.
Got people going
where was I?
45 and people going 50.
This whole area might incorporate people going $60 all day long. People don't start sitting down till you get to
We was the items removed from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Is that where we're at?
You didn't remove any?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the next one after that, unfinished business.
Oh, here we go.
No, go back to I
Aye.
want.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, unfinished business.
Okay. Item 1, adopt ordinance 1684 on second reading, public hearing and adoption, an ordinance of the City of Cocoa Beach, further amending the City of Cocoa Beach firefighters retirement system as restated in ordinance number 1431, as subsequently amended, amending Section 7, pre-retirement death, and amending Section 8, disability, providing for compliance with Chapter 2019-21 Laws of Florida, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 1684 amends ordinance number 1431. Representative Latham Kellum, Fire Pension Board. Recommendation adopt.
Move to adopt ordinance 1684 on second reading and have a roll call vote.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any public comment? All right, roll call.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hutcherson,
Aye.
Mayor Kweezy.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Second
Item
one.
2.
Item 2.
Adopt ordinance 1685 on second reading, public hearing and adoption, an ordinance of the City of Cocoa Beach, Florida, adding a new Article 12, pass-through of development review fees of Chapter 2 administration of the Cocoa Beach Code of Ordinances, allowing the city to pass through development review costs to developers and applicants for development review, and providing for codification, conflict, severability, and effective date. Representative, City Commission, recommendation, adopt.
Move to adopt ordinance 1684 on second reading.
Second.
1685.
Oh, it says 4 here and 5 here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, motion and a second. Any public comment? Anybody got any comments? We're good? All right, all in favor?
A roll call vote.
Oh, roll call, another roll call, okay. Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hutcherson,
Aye.
Mayor Kweezy.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item 3, Space Coast Mural Fest is requesting funding for the 2024 Space Coast Mural Festival. Representative Kyle Trent, Space Coast Mural Representative, recommendation approved.
Well, I asked for the numbers. We got the numbers. Last year it cost the city $2,870. I think that what I saw of the event is the artists and everybody was overly enthusiastic and worked real hard and did a great job. But I didn't see the amount of public participation that I think would merit us making it a city-sponsored event. So I think if they're not, you're not a nonprofit, are you?
It is, yes, sir.
Your artists aren't nonprofit.
No, they're working underneath the event, which is.
Well, that remains to be seen, but anyway, I would think you guys, could cut your costs down and be able to fund it yourselves and just do it as a special event, so I'm not willing to support it at this time.
I agree, Commissioner Williams. I think it was a great event. I think maybe maybe it would be a good idea to see how it's done first and see what we're getting from it and see how it's working with the whole community. And then maybe come back next year or the year after they've kind of proven themselves and we can think about it again. But and I know that Main Street is actually doing a Mural Fest in the summer, so, and that's sponsored by the city already. So, yeah.
Mural Fest?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Did you guys go to the Kite Fest?
Yeah.
It wasn't very well.
I was wondering,
Not good, was it?
was there more people at the Mural Fest than the Kite Fest?
Well, I didn't go down and count heads on the beach.
It wasn't that great a weather.
But I don't think if it's up to me, I don't think the Kite Fest was big enough draw to be a city-sponsored event either.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But I like what Commissioner Willis is saying is lean forward, start the event, and
Well,
then
we
we'll
had
budget.
it.
Well, no, hang on, I'm
We
saying
did
start
it
it on
once
your own
already.
dime, and then have it a budgeted item next year to scale the growth.
Well, I think this is the first time they're doing it on their own. Last time they had Main Street kind of organize it and sponsor them. So this is the first time they're doing it independently on their own, so.
Well, then
So
why
that's
do we
different.
sponsor it if they're doing it independently on their own?
I mean, I love art, but I don't
Yeah.
think,
Looking for any sponsorship.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I would sponsor it, but I do love art, and I do think it's a good event. I don't want to spend the residents' money on it right now. All right, so I guess that dies.
It would, if there's no motion, then it dies for
No,
lack of a motion.
then is there public comment if we didn't put, okay. So that's it?
Okay.
Sorry.
Item 4, staff is requesting direction on the path forward with the City of Cocoa Beach annual 4th of July fireworks event. The event is not budgeted for fiscal year '24. Representative Wayne Caragino, City Manager. Recommendation, provide direction.
I move to not have the July 3rd, Wednesday, fireworks in the city of Cocoa Beach for a cost of $27,114.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any public comment?
KP Finkel, 190 Seminole Lane. From what I'm hearing over the last few weeks here, you guys are really nickel and diming us a little bit. $2,800 for that event should be a pittance to us. And I certainly enjoy, and I know many of my friends enjoy it too. I have one friend who's very adamant against it due to beach erosion and things. But if we don't have money for these events, then what are we? Are we only a booze cruise at this point in time? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was kind of on the fence about this. I know it's like, it's what, $28,000. But I think in this event, which we have been doing every year, I think it's going to be kind of a letdown that we're not doing it this year. And we've got Cape Canaveral doing it, we've got Cocoa doing it, and then all of a sudden Cocoa Beach isn't doing it. And also, you know, and we benefited from it a lot because I was thinking all the business activity around that, that the businesses actually make money because we're having the fireworks. I think it's something the residents, it gives back to the community big time. And I mean, in a time of political division and everything, at least we can come together one day and just celebrate our country and our community, and everybody comes together and agrees on that anyway. So to me, and I mean, it is a lot of money, but I saw that economically and morale-wise, I think it's a big benefit for our city.
Well, I mentioned it was on a Wednesday. The holiday is on a Thursday, July 4th. So it would be different if it was the 3rd, which was our night, was on a Friday night. Then you're gonna generate a lot more business. You got people coming into town for 4th of July weekend that are already gonna be here by Friday night. They come in, leave work half day and drive to Cocoa Beach,
I'm okay with letting it go. There's enough around that everybody
Well,
can.
what I'm saying is, when they originally dreamed this up, it was supposed to rotate. One year, it was gonna be the port, Cocoa Village, and then us. And then-
Always on the 4th.
Then the next year, we were going to the first night, the 4th was the port, and then Cocoa had the night after that. So we originally got the 4th every 3 years, okay? And we stayed in the rotation. Well, now we don't get the 4th every 3 years. They don't rotate it anymore.
So you're saying because it's a Wednesday, it even has less effect to the
Well, I mean,
business?
everybody's
Right.
gonna have that day. Everybody's like gonna have Thursday off, so it's not like it's a school night on a Wednesday. I don't think it really makes a difference.
It's a 15-minute show.
In July. That's cool.
There's no school
I'm
in
just saying,
July.
it's not like anybody's gonna go to work on Thursday. I mean, most people. Yeah.
Any other public comment?
We don't have any.
Okay. I thought it was
You
a
have a
motion and a
motion. He
second.
seconded.
Was it a
Yeah,
motion?
Oh, okay, yeah, we did.
I'm on the fence as well. I think it's super important to do it, so I would be okay funding it. I also like the idea of the drone show, though. And I know
Yeah,
that
but
I
you
would
said it was
really
more
like to. Yeah,
expensive.
no, I understand it's cost
I-
prohibitive, but the costs are only coming down. I mean, those
Yeah,
things are
maybe
phenomenal.
eventually, for
And, you
sure.
know, you talk about drawing people to Cocoa Beach, that would be pretty impressive.
Because that's newsworthy.
Yeah.
Because we're the only ones
Yeah.
to be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would be okay foregoing it this year because it's a Wednesday and we're getting the 3rd. It's sort of an off day. If we also agreed that we would reconsider that next year for
I would definitely
drone show.
reconsider that next
For
year.
budget.
I don't know what the cost is. I talked to the city manager and he ballparked it, but I think that would be huge for Cocoa
So
Beach.
substantially more money to the tune of almost twice as much.
We're
But I
saving
do agree that,
27,000 this
Right.
year, so you can double it for next year.
right, and I do agree the price is gonna come down, and it's
Yeah.
the future of fireworks shows, probably in conjunction at the beginning with conventional fireworks, but, yeah, we could definitely look into it next year if that's what you.
Is it is the county preventing us from having one on the 4th? Like, what is the restriction for us as a city being
Well,
able to
you're
say, I'm having it on the 4th?
You're competing.
Yeah.
You can go to Cocoa and watch a 1/3 the level of a Disney show. Or you can come to Cocoa Beach, and I'm not gonna say what level it would be.
1/3 the level of a 1/3
Next year
of
will be a
Disney.
full-on Disney show.
All right.
With the drones.
So are we prepared to vote on this? Are we good?
So what is the motion? To
We got a
deny
motion to
it?
deny it.
Yeah.
In a second. So, all in favor to deny? Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, or all not in favor to deny?
Hey.
Okay, motion passes to deny, 3-2.
Okay, item 5, the Brevard County Commission has requested that the city of Cocoa Beach increase its payments tenfold from $83,017 to $822,889 per year for beach lifeguard services payable to the county, costing the city of Cocoa Beach an additional $739,877 to begin in fiscal year 24-25, beginning on October 1, 2024. Recommendation is to discuss and direct staff.
Move to discuss.
Move to just say no.
Move to discuss?
Could I mention something?
Yes.
If the feeling is, I wrote the agenda memo here. I think we need to send a letter to the county saying what y'all want to do. If y'all like what's in the agenda memo, I can draft a letter like that.
The memo was spot on. I mean, it captured every single thing that I had in my mind, so.
I make a motion that you draft a letter and
Yeah.
send that back as our response.
Okay.
Do we need to close the motion to discuss before we can second that?
No. I need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second to send the letter that was drafted. Any public comment on that? It's about the county trying to charge us $880,000 or whatever for
It
lifeguards.
talks about how much of the TDC money is generated in Cocoa Beach, and we don't get it, and they spend 10 times as much on advertising to bring people to Cocoa Beach than it would cost them to go ahead and fund the lifeguards, that kind of letter.
Do you want me to read it?
It might be.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
If you want to, yeah, that'd be good for them to hear.
Okay. As submitted by the county in the memorandum prepared by the Brevard County Attorney dated August 22, 2023, on the subject of funding lifeguard services by the Tourist Development Council, TDC, the lifeguard services are needed at the beaches of Brevard County primarily due to the millions of tourists who flock to the beaches. Over 2.5 million of those tourists visit Cocoa Beach each year. The actual residents of Cocoa Beach, as opposed to tourists that swim in the ocean in Cocoa Beach, are overall well-informed and good swimmers. It is the tourists who typically need lifeguard services when they do not know how to deal with riptides or go into the ocean when weather conditions make it unsafe or the tourists themselves are poor swimmers. As referenced in the memo, the county's research in recent years bears this fact out. The need for lifeguards is primarily created by tourists. As is well known, Cocoa Beach is the brand that is used by the Brevard County TDC when advertising beach tourism in Brevard County. There are typically at least 2.5 million tourists who come to Cocoa Beach each year. The TDC receives a 5% tax, a bed tax, on tourist accommodations in Brevard County. Cocoa Beach is the largest source of bed taxes that go to the TDC. In 22-23, Cocoa Beach was the source of $5,120,000 paid to the TDC for bed taxes. Of that, over $5 million of TDC revenue that originated in the city of Cocoa Beach received in return from the TDC the comparatively small sum of $174,000 for beach cleanup. The TDC currently spends millions providing beach renourishment to beaches in Brevard County, but it is important to note that the TDC pays absolutely nothing to renourish the beach in Cocoa Beach. The beach renourishment in Cocoa Beach is provided by the Army Corps of Engineers, which is the result of a successful lawsuit many years ago, which obligated the Army Corps to do beach renourishment in the city limits of Cocoa Beach, but not in other beaches of the county. According to Brevard County budget figures, the county budgeted for the TDC in fiscal year 23-24 $23,967,250 and $26,077 in fiscal year 22-23 for TDC beach improvement. None of that money was spent to renourish the beach in Cocoa Beach. It's only logical that the TDC should pay for lifeguard services to make Cocoa Beach's beach safe for tourists. The TDC in its advertisement touts Cocoa Beach's safe beaches. It is only appropriate for the TDC to bear the expenses for the lifeguards whose primary purpose is to protect tourists. As a result of the 2.5 million tourists that visit Cocoa Beach each year, the city is forced to provide greatly expanded and therefore much more expensive police and fire rescue services than the city would need without the huge influx of tourists. The Cocoa Beach Police Department budget is $5,894,765 and fire department budget is $5,469,618 for a total public safety budget of over $11 million. Almost half the police and fire rescue calls handled by those departments are the direct result of tourists rather than residents of Cocoa Beach. These huge budgets put a large burden on city taxpayers that would not be present without the extra costs of hosting the over 2.5 million tourists. A large percentage of Cocoa Beach residents are either retired or work in the space industry or other non-tourist industries. The full-time population of Cocoa Beach is approximately 11,227. Examples of non-tourist-oriented cities in Florida of approximately the same population and similar demographics to Cocoa Beach are Avon Park in South Central Florida and Milton in the Panhandle. Milton, with a full-time population of 11,288, has a police department budget of just over $3 million and a fire department budget of $2,700,000 for a total public safety budget of $5,900,000, approximately half of the public safety budget of Cocoa Beach. Avon Park, with a full-time population of approximately 10,425, has a police department budget of $2,700,000 and a fire department budget of $2,300,000. For a total public safety budget of approximately $5 million, less than half of the public safety budget in Cocoa Beach. When looked at based on the cost per resident of Cocoa Beach, the public safety budget of Cocoa Beach computes to $1,012 per resident per year. Each individual resident of Cocoa Beach pays approximately an extra $500 per year, or $1,000 per average household for the privilege of hosting the influx of 2.5 million visitors each year. Those full-time Cocoa Beach residents bear the costs of providing police and fire rescue services to the tourists who congest the roads and beaches and sometimes make using the beaches by residents difficult or uncomfortable. The tourists who stay in vacation rentals and single-family neighborhoods also detract from the feeling of community in the area and often create noise, trash, and parking problems that degrade residential neighborhoods. The bottom line is that the residents of Cocoa Beach typically do not receive the financial benefits of tourism in Cocoa Beach like the TDC, which received over $5 million in fiscal year 2023 from the bed tax in Cocoa Beach. But such Cocoa Beach residents bear the heavy financial burdens of such tourism. The county has suggested that the city use funds earned from beach parking fees to pay for lifeguards. The revenues from the city parking garage are pledged to pay off bonds issued to pay for the cost of construction of that garage. Other parking fees are currently used to defray some of the massively high extra costs for police and fire rescue services borne by the city due to the over 2.5 million tourists who visit Cocoa Beach each year. The city of Cocoa Beach has no extra funds from parking revenues to use to pay the county for lifeguard services that have traditionally and rightfully been paid for by the county. The TDC should, at the very least, take the funds that it would otherwise allocate for beach renourishment of the 6 miles of beaches in Cocoa Beach and use that money to fund lifeguards in the city of Cocoa Beach.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So we had a motion and a second to,
Did we want to give them the opportunity to?
oh, do you want to re-comment on any of that you heard? I mean, I think it's spot on.
Tim Tumulty, Cocoa Beach. I think it is very good. I think in that last paragraph, when we asked for the TDC to pay for lifeguards, we should also ask them to pay an additional $5 million to Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Because you ask for 6, you might get 1.
Yeah.
You ask for 1, you may get nothing. But the fact of the matter is, the TDC is driving people to Cocoa Beach. That's great, we love that, but they're not supporting it. Our residents are supporting that, unfortunately. With the infrastructure, our physical infrastructure is deteriorating because of it. We've got police and fire that is limited based on
our residents here in Cocoa Beach, yet on any particular weekend, we could have 2 to 10 times as many residents or people showing up to Cocoa Beach with the same emergency personnel to handle that, to handle just the residents. So if there's a way to add just a little snippet at the end, just like they asked us in the very first paragraph, and that we would pay an additional $739,877, we should turn around and say, well, the TDC can pay that as well as X amount for police and X amount for fire. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that. The TDC under the state statute is not allowed to pay for police and fire. One thing that they would be allowed to do, though, would be to pay for some of our special events. There are things in our budget we could ask them to pay for.
So, good points, good points. Let's leave it the way it is and save any
Thank you, Tim.
follow-up on those issues for another day.
Okay.
Okay, as far as follow-up goes, I know we're talking about this particular thing, but I wanted to look into exploring as a contingency, however they respond to this, of having our own lifeguard program too. I don't know if that would be another agenda item for another meeting or.
We looked into that a little bit, and
It was,
it's way
it
too
was
expensive.
right around par with what the county's charging. And the fire department put the package together. It was 1.5 million.
Yeah,
And that
but
would be all our money versus we're only paying half, 883 to the.
we might have some other
Yeah.
funding sources that wouldn't come from our.
We
Yeah.
can look at it, into it further, but you can, city manager will share the package with you.
I think I've seen the package.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the idea there? I mean, let me finish your thought.
Well, it would be kind of like our own, ideally, and I think we can scale it to what we want to, is our own lifeguard force that could possibly engage some law enforcement with it, and we could control their time, because right now the county has their schedule and it cuts off, there's a lot of, I think, what are they?
5 o'clock.
Okay, there's, in the summer, there's a lot of people at the beach till 8, 9. We don't have any lifeguard coverage. We could control all that with our own force. I know that they've kept track of how many lifeguards are in each tower that should be in each tower, and they're not always fully staffed too. So stuff like that we could have control over if we had our own. And I heard that we have possibility of outside funding that wouldn't come from the city. And I mean, that's an ideal. I'm sure we could tailor it, and scale it down if we had to, or whatever we wanted to do. But I just wanted to have the discussion, see what we could possibly come up with.
Let's move this forward.
Yeah.
We'll
To
add
answer the
forward.
mail here.
We obviously will come up with some kind of, contingency plan of response based on what the county does. But
Yeah.
I kind of wish you wouldn't have kind of already told them that, we got this backup plan. They're going to say, okay, we'll make them go with their backup plan. So I like the just say no part that they started out with.
Okay, well, I didn't know another better time to bring it up, so.
Okay, after we get the response back from the county.
And
Can the TDC fund
Less is
infrastructure
more.
improvements and maintenance? Or
No.
could they fund beach crosswalks, like ADA compliant walkways or things like that?
possibly, I'd have to research it.
That might be an opportunity. I know that that's.
I mean,
been an
there
issue we
probably
talked
are things in our budget that they could fund. And when I was doing the research for this, I was really surprised at the massive amount of money they're using for the beach renourishment for all the other beaches, other than ours. And I mean, I think if there is fairness involved, that, we shouldn't be paying the $87,000 even. or 83,000 that we're paying now.
Statistically, we don't have any residents that need lifeguards. It's all the tourists.
I know, I mean, not every resident is a great swimmer, but they don't swim in the ocean either.
So I'd be very interested in scoping what they
I agree,
could
we need one,
fund
but it's
and
the
contribute,
locals
since
that
they're not
ask
contributing
me.
other things. I think the lifeguard and asking for
Well, I
ADA
think,
compliant
I think,
crosswalks or other types of maintenance and services that offset the load that Cocoa Beach carries with the amount of tourists that are brought into the county via Cocoa Beach.
Vote this.
in,
I think.
that might be for
in a negotiation at
another
this
day.
point, we tell them we're not gonna pay anything.
Mayor,
Yeah, I'm not,
don't get all this.
I'm not
Because we
paying.
start offering,
Yeah.
routes for
Let
them.
me call the question.
It's not
All right.
negotiation, my point of view.
Yeah,
You guys done with public
all
comment?
public,
We're good?
I think so.
I think we're good. So motion to send this letter, second approves. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I think we're at new business item 2.
What's that?
I think we're at new business
Yeah,
item
new
2.
business item 2?
J2.
J2.
Okay. Item 2, consider annual parking spaces reserved for private business usage. Representative Patricia Draycott, Chief Financial Officer. Recommendation, provide direction.
This is almost, I mean, I understand why they want this and request this, but, you know,
It's gonna make it
it can almost cause us to get into some favoritism battles.
Let's hear from Patricia.
Good evening, Patricia Draycott, CFO. So the city has currently a couple of contracts, 3. One just recently renewed, one has just recently expired, or 2 of them have expired, and we've gotten a request now from a third business to do this. In the past, we've brought that to the city manager for review and to approve the contract as kind of an exception to the parking program. But our concern is that it seems to be gaining interest from the business, some of the businesses in the area. So what we're asking is for the commission to provide direction. Do you want to continue to do this? Do you want to not do this? Up till now, they've calculated, my staff, Cody Ingram, who manages our parking program, he's calculated an annual cost based on average revenues for those parking spaces. I don't think that's to the best interest of the city, because once you reserve parking spaces, you've lost any potential revenue, not just what we've earned in average, but anything that might be available. So I would encourage maybe a different approach to that calculation, to look at potential, not average, maybe even discounting it. But what we're asking is guidance from the commission on what you want to see us do. Do you want to continue to allow businesses to sort of reserve spaces for a year at a time, or do you not? And if you do want to do it, what are the parameters and how do you want the cost calculated so that we can put together an actual policy that we can follow and be consistent on that practice?
Don't we already have a program where they buy a parking pass?
Yeah, but.
Not for an annual
reserving
basis.
Somebody else.
This is reserving them.
This would have to, so hypothetical, you're a 9 to 5 business, you have to do several trips during the day, going to the bank, going here, going there, coming back to your business. By that time, the parking spaces are all getting filled up. You're 2 blocks from the parking garage or, wherever you are. You want that spot so you can pull back into your business and get back in your building and go back to work, okay? But on Saturday and Sunday, it still says reserved, and we're not making any money on it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of.
And then there's, take, like, for instance, But on the little strip there by Green Room, you got Green Room and you got a property management company and there's one other company that's kind of sisters with that management company. There was probably between the two of them, 13 employees. Should they decide that they want to reserve the ones closest to the management company for the management company, now you just took away spaces that people could be using for 15 minutes at a time or half an hour or an hour to go into Green Room and have something to eat and then leave, and then somebody else is paying for the spot.
So for example, the current one that's requesting, they're requesting 5 spaces for 5 days out of the week during the evening hours so they can do valet parking.
I think I'm with you, Patricia. I don't think we should do it.
I mean, it's going to make a patchwork of when it's valid, your parking pass here on nights, weekends,
gonna
not on
get
Monday,
messy.
Friday. With the current,
Playing favorites.
It's gonna get messy.
well, yeah, it's going to get so convoluted. This
Yeah,
was like
everybody's
when I was
gonna
in
want it.
college,
One
every
person-
lot was a different sticker and it was.
It's gonna just open the door for everybody saying, well, they got it, they got it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Do we know what the impact is if we don't renew them?
So one of the contracts, I can't remember which one just recently renewed versus one that's just recently expired, and we've told them we're not going to make any change until we've brought this to the commission. But one of them, they just want one spot to park their trailer that has all their beach equipment. It's one of the beach vendors, and they just use this spot to store their trailer overnight. But, so there's different ways that they've been asking for this, but there's no consistency on our end. It's just been each contract reviewed individually and approved or not by the city manager. And I just think an actual policy would be better if you choose to go forward with this.
So the one space that this trailer's in is currently a pay-to-park space, correct?
They paid for an annual fee.
No. It's normally a pay-to-park.
Normally, it would be a paid space,
Paid
yes.
space, okay? So if they want to park their trailer there, they got to get there early enough to get that spot.
No, you're saying they bought that from the city.
I don't remember if that's the one that just renewed or if that's the one that's
No,
expired.
what I'm saying is, they just pay the daily rate.
With the sticker.
No, you don't get to park, you don't get to park there with a sticker, do you?
Yeah.
I suppose, I don't know that we.
This is one of the stub end streets. is the
Well,
scenario
if
you're
it's with
talking
the
about.
sticker, you just pay for your sticker and you get there early enough to get the spot.
I mean, I
I
don't.
mean, the
I
waves
don't
are
know
good
that
and
we
you want to
restrict
surf at
where you put your sticker if you've got a
16th
registered
Street, you don't have to
vehicle.
pay, you better get there before 7:30 in the morning. There are no spots.
My understanding, this particular agenda memo is not even city, it's privately owned spots that the city manages, so.
For the one that
And on
is
this-
currently requesting, that we've said we're not making a decision
Yeah.
until we bring it to you, that particular request is for the North Atlantic parking lot.
Yeah.
Which is in a private-public partnership. So most of that revenue doesn't come to the city anyway. And so we would probably have to have that conversation with the owner of that property. They may not even want to do
too
this. So that one
complicated.
might not be doable anyway.
How many contracts do we have? Like,
I think there's only currently one that's currently in effect. And the others are expired or about to expire. But my understanding is 3. But it just seems that it's starting to get more interest, and so
So with this motion to deny, would that mean then
We
the
know.
future contract, was that?
Go ahead.
Or the future, that contract that was signed before, once that ends, they're
That
done
would be
as well?
done.
Okay. Any public comment?
Patricia, about how long have they had those contracts? Has this been a year or two, or not exact, just ballpark?
I think that they've only had these contracts for the past year.
Okay.
Guess who started?
the fact that those people aren't here indicates to me that it's not really high on their, priority list either. So to just drop $5,000 or $10,000 on those parking losses is probably not in the best interest of the city.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right,
Karen, we did have a motion to deny, or did we just, we're discussing?
He discussed
Okay,
it in a
so I make a motion to just not go forward with any further consideration of annual parking spaces being reserved for private business uses.
Second.
all right, I got a motion and a second, and we're good on public comment? Since it's a new, okay. All in favor to deny?
Aye.
All opposed?
Right.
Okay. Motion passes to deny 5-0. Any general public comment that we had not discussed earlier?
Tim Tumulty, 59-year-old resident of Cocoa Beach. I mention this at probably every meeting, that we should have a training session for all board members, commission, planning board, leisure board, everyone on Robert's rules. The third item on every packet under welcome says Robert's, or rules of order, Robert's Rules of Order and the Florida Sunshine Law govern the conduct of our meetings. So there are books on Robert's Rules. I don't know if any of you have read them. We've had, you should. When a motion is made, it's inherently, it's inferred that you're going to discuss. If you make a motion to discuss, I'm not even sure that that's even a thing. You make a motion on the agenda item, you get a second, and then you discuss. If you make a motion on an agenda item and there is no second, there is no discussion. It is done. If there's no second, you cannot continue to talk about it. It's closed, done, no more conversation. It seems to happen a lot. And just about every motion, every item on here, it's made a motion to discuss. And you don't, that's not a thing. Just saying. And we should have a meeting. And also, one more thing, making a motion in the negative is very difficult to understand sometimes. So basically, you keep the same motion in the affirmative, and it could be denied by saying no or nay rather than yes. That's how you get to the negative and stop the motion or stop the agenda item from happening, not by creating a motion that's to not do it.
Thank you, Tim. Any other public comments? All right. Let's adjourn this meeting.
Judiciary have to.